Good evening, guys. World War II vehicle guy here with another exciting video here. This time it's on the WC56 command car once again. As I've preached in every single video I've made, letting these trucks sit, absolute worst thing you can do to them. And it has struck several times since my last video. The latest occurrence was the brake system, which I kind of figured that was going to be the next to go here eventually. And that did happen. The only really reason I noticed anything and pulled it all apart was I noticed they were getting really, really squeaky and just wasn't stopping like it used to. So I had spun the wheel when I had jacked this truck up originally to check all the suspension just to make sure everything was tight. It did feel a little bit out of adjustment to me. So I wanted to go ahead and adjust the brakes anyway. But my suspicions were confirmed. The wheel cylinders have started leaking, essentially saturating the brake shoes in brake fluid, and then just kind of lubricating everything up. So the truck definitely wasn't stopping like it should have, and that's what caused the brake squeal as well. So basically, on the WC56, we're looking at I wouldn't call it a complete brake job, but I do want to replace all four wheel cylinders and then go from there. Typically, when you do a brake job on these trucks, you want to replace every single rubber component. Looking at this truck, I truly do believe it got a brake job not long before it was parked, because here, if you look at these rubber hoses, you can still clearly see the part number on them. They're not cracked or anything. And feeling the pedal, I definitely didn't feel like the brakes were sticking at all. You couldn't smell any brakes. So at this point in time, I'm just going to replace the wheel cylinders. I know, not the correct thing to do, but I just want to do it and then go from there. Brake adjustments on these Dodge WCs can sometimes be a pain in the butt. The book calls for 12 thousandths up at the top, 6 thousandths at the bottom. So essentially how you do that is you put your brakes back together, put your drum on. Don't put the set screws in yet, just put the drum on. And you have a slot right there to where you can stick a feeler gauge in and then measure between the drum and the shoe. Like I said, the manual calls for 12 thousandths on the top, 6 thousandths on the bottom. There typically should be an adjustment cover here to cover that window, but apparently the previous person who did the brake job on this truck decided they didn't need to reinstall it. So you get your drum on, stick your feeler gauge in there, and then there's 4 different adjustments you do have to make. You have to make an adjustment here, 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 and here. Essentially, there's a nut, and then there's a screw in the middle. You want to back off the nut and then turn the screw as needed to get your adjustment with the feeler gauges. It is kind of a lengthy process. Typically, how you adjust drum brakes on vehicles is you just kind of want to listen to the drag. On these Dodge WCs, that's not really the right way to do it. I tried doing it my first go around with the Dodges, and that didn't go too well. They were definitely not an adjustment. So, like I said, the easiest way I found to do them was just follow the book. Go figure, follow the book, and adjust them with the feeler gauges. I did that on that Dodge WC51 I have, and they've been perfect ever since. So, there's 4 different rubber lines on these trucks. You have the 2 on the axles, and then you have from the frame down to the axle in the front and the rear. If they sit for a while, I'd highly recommend replacing all 4 of them, and then as well as the wheel cylinders. Like I said, in this case, it's a little bit different. I think they were replaced relatively recently. It's just this truck sat so long that the seals in the wheel cylinders they were not sealing properly, and then you do have brake fluid leaking everywhere. Another thing that you should do, which I'm not going to do, you guys can crucify me all you want, you should replace the brake shoes once they get saturated with brake fluid. That's typically not good for them. I have seen methods of people burning them out, so they'll like put them on the brake drum, get a fire going good and hot, and you can burn the brake fluid out of the shoes. I'm going to clean them up the best I can. Maybe I will try that method and go from there. Like I said, if I have to take it back apart to replace them, that's really no big deal. But the shoes are like brand new, as you can see. So I don't want to be replacing stuff if I don't necessarily have to. Anyone that has these trucks knows it can get expensive fast, especially with these wheel cylinders. They're not the cheapest thing in the world. These wheel cylinders are specific to the 3/4 tons. If you have a 1/2 ton WC, you have an 11-inch wheel cylinder. I believe these are 14-inch wheel cylinders, so I'll get those on order tomorrow from John over there at Midwest Military and get them installed here on the truck. Get the brakes bled. I'll get my lovely fiance out here to help me bleed the brakes. She gets irritated with me, but is what it is, you know. You got to do what you got to do. Hopefully that'll take care of the brake squeaking concern and the brake adjustment concern. It does make it nice having the correct lug wrench here for this truck. It fits in there just perfect. I do have another socket that I had to use. I actually had to use a 3/4 inch drive ratchet set to get these lug nuts off because they had been on there for so long. I don't know how long it's been since they've been off last, but man, did they fight me. Had to use some heat, had to stand on the breaker bar, but we did prevail. They are all loose on the truck. So as I go around replacing the wheel cylinders, they'll come off real nice and easy. I'll lubricate the threads up real nice. That way they go back on nice and easy. Another tidbit on the trucks, Jeeps, anything really with World War II is we have left-hand threads on the driver's side, right-hand threads on the passenger side. So you always want to pay attention to that. You definitely do not want to forget that because a lot of people go torching the lug nuts off and they go, oh crap, left-hand threads on the driver's side. So if you look at the stud itself, you can see the L, and then obviously on the passenger side, you would have an R. I'm not sure how well they will show up in the video here. You can kind of see that R there. There's a good shot of it. So just another thing to keep in mind with these old World War II trucks, and really any Dodge. I think they did that well up into the 70s. Someone could correct me. But I do believe that's how long Mopar kept doing that. Throws a lot of people for a loop, but something to keep in mind. The other mechanical breakdown I had with this truck is the distributor main drive shaft actually snapped in half. That was interesting. It was running the one day, and it started running pretty rough, and I'm like, huh, that was kind of weird. This truck never does that. Shut it off, wanted to check a few things, went to start it up, and I heard a loud snap. Well, I kind of figured at that point in time that it did lose spark. My suspicions were confirmed. I grabbed the distributor, the rotor, and it just spun without, because the way these work, you have your oil pump and your distributor drive goes into the oil pump. I think I did take the distributor itself apart. I think what happened was one of the advance weights broke off and got wedged in between the housing. When that got wedged, it just snapped the shaft, the next weakest link. Luckily, I was able to fish that shaft out of the block with a magnet because that could have been proved to be a real bad day. But we prevailed and got it running and driving pretty nice. But here we go again with the brakes. Like I said, I kind of figured this was going to happen, but didn't want it to happen so soon, but it is what it is. As I always preach, don't let these trucks sit. That's the worst thing you can do for them. We no further leaks here from the transfer case. That repair we did with double stacking the seals did address that, so I'm thankful for that. The next item on this truck, I think probably going to be next winter. It's not really leaking too bad, but the rear pinion seal does drip a little bit. I always do check it, but I do want to get that taken care of on both Dodges actually. So that'll be another video to look forward to. Hopefully the parts get here in a couple days so I can get this truck back on the road and get everything cleaned up nice and neat. Get the brakes all adjusted as they should be, and then we'll have it rolling again. So hopefully some of you guys find this interesting. I know I'll probably get crucified with not replacing some of the components, but like I said, I'm fairly confident that the wheel cylinders will take care of all our issues. I don't think we have any lines collapsed or anything like that, but that happens later on down the road, then I'll just have to eat my words and do it again, but I don't see no need to do it yet here. But another interesting thing with these Dodges, the serial number are always stamped up here in the left-hand corner of the frame. I don't know how well it's going to show up on camera here, but you can see the serial number stamped there. So I know some states are pretty particular with vehicle inspections. They want to inspect the serial number. A lot of times these trucks get replacement data plates. Obviously this truck has had it, and I actually was nervous I was going to have to do that with the state, show them the actual serial number stamped into the frame here. But they did accept it, and I finally got my antique plates, so we're all good to go there. But just another little tidbit of information. It's always stamped up here in the left-hand corner of the truck. The Jeeps, on my GPW, it's stamped on the upper half of the frame up here in the driver's side, but on these Dodges, it's stamped right here. So hopefully some people get some information out of this video. Thanks for watching.